The Clerk of the Senate announced that the Senate has passed with amendment committee substitute for House Bill 4145 relating to carry or use of a handgun or deadly weapon.
Master be received. Gentleman for the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to take the bill up for immediate consideration.
The gentleman for the 58th asks unanimous consent that House committee substitute for House Bill 4145 be taken up for immediate consideration. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Gentleman from the 58th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the Senate made some changes to House Bill 4145, which is relating to carrying and use of a handgun or deadly weapon. The Senate made the amendments remove the tax credit for persons that obtain a permit and deleted a provision for LEOSA, L-E-O-S-A. The Senate amendment also amended the mandatory enhanced penalties to give the courts discretion in sentencing a person who uses or presents a firearm while engaged in the commission of a felony. So the Senate changes were the safety training that we were trying to address, the House version, and the out-of-pocket cost by way of the tax credit. The enhanced penalties were lessened or eliminated to the discretion of the court, and deleted the LEOSA, which some of you may not know, that was the empowering law enforcement and prosecutors with the ability to carry concealed in certain circumstances. In response to that, we've done a couple things. It appears we have word from the Senate that the LEOSA provision will be included in another bill on the Senate side, and anticipate a House amendment to the Senate amendment that would recommend that we reinstate in part the tax credit, a $50 tax credit for persons to pay for training or offset their training cost, or the cost may be applied to their application fee as well. So, Mr. Speaker, therefore I move we concur in the Senate amendment with further amendment.
The gentleman from the 58th moves that the House concur in the Senate amendment with further amendment. Gentleman from the 7th, Delegate Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield for a question?
Gentleman yield. Gentleman yields.
Thank you. Did the Senate amendment deal with the definition of whether or not this applied to all dangerous weapons or just firearms?
No, I don't think their amendment changed that at all.
So the bill, as it came back to us from the Senate, still talks about the ability to carry all dangerous weapons without a permit. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady from the 50th, Delegate Longstreth.
Would the gentleman continue to yield?
Sure.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman yields.
On the changes that the Senate made, and we're putting back in, are we putting back in a $50 tax credit if a person chooses to do training, but they don't have to do training? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the amendment I'm going to offer as soon as we're the next order of business is I will offer a $50 tax credit for training costs.
But that's only if somebody wants to. There's really no mandatory training in this bill whatsoever.
Well, yeah, the tax credit, that's correct, but just to be clear, the credit could be applied to those who get a CHL permit or those between 18 and 20. Anyone who pays for the training, I think you're eligible for that tax credit, but it does not require any new training that wasn't already required, if that makes sense.
The gentleman from the 17th, Delegate Warbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield for a question?
Gentleman yield. Gentleman yields.
The sentencing, you remarked that they've changed that from the mandatory to the discretionary, but did the time limits change? It was 5 years and 10 years before.
Now, the time of the penalty did not change, just the discretion of the judge instead of, it was mandatory for the commission of a felony with a handgun was mandatory, and now it's simply at the discretion of the court as to whether those enhanced penalties apply and how.
But the 5 years and 10 years did not change, so the judge can still go up to that, but he doesn't have to go up to that.
That's my understanding. Right.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr.
Gentleman from the 23rd, Delegate Nelson.
Thank you. Would the gentleman continue to yield?
Gentleman yields. Gentleman yields.
Yes, sir.
Help me clear this up. from my understanding, the reason behind discretionary is in case somebody happens to be carrying a little pocket knife or something, the judge can take that into consideration. Would that be correct?
I can't speak to the purpose and intent of the Senate, but I believe that's how it is. It has been changed from a mandatory sentence to discretion of the judge for a dangerous deadly weapon or a concealed handgun.
So
And the
it would
commission of a
provide the
felony.
discretion for the judge, though, if he happened to be carrying a Swiss Army knife, to take that into consideration if that were to become a player.
I think it's a firearm, but and it has to be in the commission of a felony. It's not just for carrying a firearm. In the commission of a felony, I believe is what it is. But
All right, thank you.
Gentleman from 36, Doggett Row.
Is for the state tax credit, is there a cost to the budget, to the general revenue fund?
yes,
Do you know-
any tax credit we offer will have a financial impact.
Do you know what that would be?
I've been told $1.5 million for a $50 tax credit, and I think there was a fiscal note in the Senate when it was 100, it was $3 million or something. So,
Okay, when it left here, there was a $100 tax credit, correct? And then the Senate has reduced that to $50.
but no, the Senate eliminated the tax credit. What I suggested in my motion to concur with the Senate amendment with further amendment is that I anticipate offering an amendment in just a couple minutes to reinstate a $50 tax credit instead of that $100 tax credit.
And what does it apply to?
Training. It offsets the training or the application fee and applies to those who get a permit and those who just wish to get training and not get a permit.
So if a person didn't apply for the permit, they still could get the training and the tax credit.
That's my understanding, yes.
And that would be an amendment we're proposing to send over to the Senate.
That's the one we'll deal with in just a minute. That's right.
And did you say, are there other amendments from the House to go back over to the Senate besides on the credit?
No, it's just my understanding that the LEOSA provision that was included in this bill will be included by the Senate in some other bill. So I hope that issue is settled as well. Although it's stricken from the Senate version of this bill, we have word that the Senate will include it in some other bill.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gentleman from the 50th, Doggett Mansion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman continue to yield?
Gentleman yields.
I heard in the beginning that you said they had lessened penalties, and then I heard that you say that all they had done was make the jail terms discretionary as opposed to mandatory. Was there some other method, or I mean, did they lessen the fines, or did I just mishear you?
No, I think what they changed was that they made the penalties, instead of being mandatory for the commission of a felony and possession of a firearm, to discretionary by the court, but I think the penalty range stayed the same.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Gentleman from the 5th, Doggett Pethel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the majority leader continue to yield?
Gentleman yields.
Certainly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Majority Leader. I just want to be clear on this. The $50 tax credit, that's for ages 18 up to 21. Is that correct?
Now, I believe the $50 tax credit is for everyone, whether you're getting a permit or just want to get safety training and carry a gun openly or concealed after the bill becomes law. It's for taking safety training.
Okay, but for this bill, when it left the House, there was no mandatory permit or gun safety training for 21 and over. Is that the way this bill still is?
It doesn't change the requirement for safety training. It just enhances the possibility that more people will seek safety training if they're entitled to a $50 tax credit.
Okay, thank you.
Further members desire to speak to the gentleman's motion. If not, the question before the House is the motion by the gentleman from the 58th that the House concur in the Senate amendment with further amendment as discussed by the gentleman from the 58th. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Declare the House concurs with the Senate amendment with further amendment. Question now before the House is the passage of the bill. The gentleman from 58.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to formally offer the amendment. Are we at that stage now? No?
The gentleman's motion was that we concur with that amendment, so the amendment has been adopted by the action of the House. So the question now before the House is passage of the bill as amended by the Senate with the further amendment that the House has made to the bill. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has each member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, 67 ayes, 31 nays, 2 members absent not voting, majority of members elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed.
Senate will be in order. Message to be received, the senator from Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur in the House amendments to the Senate amendment to House Bill 4145. The House amendment inserts a $50 tax credit. The bill was passed by the House originally included a $100 tax credit, which was removed by the Judiciary Committee strike and insert amendment. The tax credit broadly applies to anyone granted a license. The new $50 credit would apply to a person obtaining the initial license or paying for training. And I urge that I'll be glad to answer questions, and I urge that the Senate concur in this amendment.
Senator from Jackson moves that the Senate concur in the House amendment to the Senate amendment for engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4145. Is there discussion? If not, all those in favor say... Senator from Jefferson.
Would Majority Leader yield?
Senator yields. Senator yields.
$50. Do we have an idea of what the impact on the fiscal impact to the state is for that amendment?
Well, we have an estimate based on the fact that, because it's very much dependent on who receives training and how many people apply for the permits and so forth, that it could be as much as $3 million, as much as. But the thought process, it'll be substantially less than that.
So if my math's correct, the bill we just rejected from the education report was a hole in the budget of $14 million. And then this would be an additional, be $17 million total.
The maximum cost of this could be up to $3 million, as I alluded to.
All right, thank you.
Is there further discussion? Senator from Harrison.
I rise briefly to point out that it took the House to put a safety training measure in this bill. I still don't think the bill's right. I still don't think we have any common sense. But the House had to put in an opportunity for safety into a bill that we considered for days here. And I would agree the bill's going to pass anyways. I think we should concur in the amendment. But I think we should take the opportunity to make that training mandatory for anybody that's going to carry a gun amongst our citizens, our family, and our children. Thank you.
Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is that the Senate concur in the House amendment to the Senate amendment for engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 4145. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. I declare the motion adopted. Question now is on passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 24 yeas, 9 nays, 1 absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed.